Papa Yagyair Ishtva Svargatim Prartayante Te Punyamasadya Surendra Lokam Ashnanti Divyan Divideva Bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly, purified of sinful reactions. They take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Yeah. So Prabhupada says in the purport, the word Traividya refers to three Vedas, Samyajur and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the three Vedas. Actual three Vedas, what do? Those who actually have understood the Vedas, they will take shelter of under lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. And devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Yes, so it's mentioned here the Soma what is Soma? Is it a drink? A plant? Well, it's explained that they take this plant and they squeezing it so that nice juice is coming out, shake and drink for getting Amrit. So the sages squeeze the celestial Soma plant in order to get Amrita, the nectar of immortality. So it's explained in the Rig Veda. It can be understood deeper also. It's not just simply an object, physical object. It is the Soma is the elixir of life. Yeah. So in other words, it's not just something that's up there in the heavenly planets. It's right here. It's right inside our body. To begin with, Sumas, Suma and Agni belong together. So in order to understand Suma, we have to understand Agni. So what is Agni? It's the fire principle. Yeah. Whatever is hot, whatever is burning, that's Agni. Yeah. Soma is the liquid principle. I'll not say only water. Of course, it also represents water, but it also represents whatever nourishment you get, whatever juice you get. It's called rasa. Which results in bliss. Yeah. So rasa, you can say rasa means taste. Yeah, the taste of water, but actually the concept of water in the Sanskrit Vedic texts, water is representing everything liquid. So, for example, you can eat a nice fruit. So that nice fruit Yep. Yep. The nectar in the fruit is soma. Yep. It's easy to understand, right? And then what about Agni? It's a fire principle. Yeah, it can also be called Chid Agni, the fire of consciousness. Yeah. It's ultimately. That's the end station for proper cultivation of Agni in our life will give us the fire of consciousness. Agni represents everything that's sharp, burning, of course, hot. You can find out yourself. But these are by these two, the whole world exists. Okay? So we have them represented in our two nostrils. When our breath, our life breath, prana, is divided into hot and cold, yeah, or into two, you can say, yeah. Right nostril represents Agni, and left nostril represents Soma. Yeah. So then it's an Agni is hot, and left is Soma, cool. Yeah. Heating and cooling, you can say in another way. Yeah, so a nice fruit, the nectar in the fruit is soma. It said that fruit is cooling, yeah, by nature. It has this, yeah. So that's the other thing. So Agni is represented by sun, yeah. I'll write that here, yeah. Yeah. So sun energy, yeah. Right, and then moon energy, and then again, of course, then this will be the plus, and the moon energy will be the minus, just like in the battery. Yeah. So in the original Vedas, a lot of emphasis is given to Agni and Soma, simply because they are what the world is consisting of. You can boil it all down to these two. Yeah. So then you can say I don't know how to say it, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, so Agni represents, Soma represents nectar, yeah, say like that, nourishment. So nectar or enjoyment, you can say, any kind of nectar enjoyment, nourishment, bliss, ananda. Yeah. And then Agni is it's a purification. Actually, both of them are purifying. But you can say fire, knowledge. You can say the more kind of linear. Yeah, and Agni is more like non-linear things. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Go like this. So why we need to speak about this? Because it's connected. Everything is connected. It's like so also Soma is descending grace. Yeah, means mercy. Yeah, and here is ascending. As ascent of the soul towards God. Yeah, is that the right word? Ascent. Yeah. You can say the striving of the soul. So our own endeavor, our own practice. Isn't it true? We need to have both. So in other words, you can say sadhana. So sadhana, is one kind of fire. It's called fire of sadhana fire. It's practice. That's the best word actually here. Training, etc. All these things. It's like masculine attributes. Did I say that they were feminine and masculine? Yeah, so that's what you also can say. So then it becomes clear that the whole world is composed of these two. So what can you say? The grace, it's called kripa, divine grace. Yep. So you have both, divine grace, and you also have the fire of sadhana. We need that's when the devotee is striving to, you can say, earn the grace of the Lord. Although the grace is always available, but one has to also do something for God. And that practice and the knowledge and all this, that's represented by Agni, and the bliss and the grace and all, you can say, all the soft things, nice things. That's Soma. So again, Agni is like the hard, Soma is the soft. Yeah. Hard values, you can say, and soft values. Yeah. So enough about that. We can go on. Let's see. Trividamam Sompa Puta Papa. So what is more? Seeking the heavenly planet to worship me indirectly. So because, why should Krishna say that one is worshipping him indirectly? Because, study of the Vedas, it's representing Agni, and drinking Soma juice is representing Soma, or the moon. So it's the sun and the moon. In that way you can code the whole existence and see the sun and moon everywhere. The sun principle and the moon principle are everywhere. Yeah. And both of them are purifying. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Yeah, so it's also one thing to understand that we can take that after. But Prabhupada is making the point here also, which I will get into. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to different demigods like Indra and Chandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contamination of the lower qualities of nature, and are thereby elevated to the higher planetary systems, or heavenly planets known as Marloka, Janloka, Takloka, etc. Once situated on those higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet. It's also stated by one verse in one of the Upanishads that the higher up you go, you can enjoy 100 times better once you are on the heavenly planets, and then you can go even higher to the higher locals above the heavenly planets, and you will enjoy even 1,000 times more than that. And then at the Brahma Loka, you're enjoying 1,000 times more, like that. And in the spiritual world, of course, there is unlimited more enjoyment. Because there you can stay forever. But here he said, Tetam bhuktva swarga lokam vishalam, kshina punya martyr lokam vishanti, evam traye dharmam anuprapana, katagatam kama kama labante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. So although you have personified Soma and Agni there, we are still in the material world. Actually, the attachment to the worldly enjoyments, even on an elevated plane, is a cause of samsara. So Prabhupada says, one who is promoted to higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. So it's like a Ferris wheel going up and up. So I will just say the point here is that you have a concept of so what is described here now. Actually, in the beginning of from 20 and 21, we are learning about this kind of bhakti, which is Sakam bhakti. So there's two kinds of bhakti. So you have Sakama and Nishkama. So here, in these two verses, we heard about Sakama. So Sakama, Sakama Bhakti, then seeks either Artha or Kama. So Artha, any kind of wealth, and Kama is enjoyment. So of course you get that on the heavenly planets. So that's why the ultimate performers of Sakama Bhakti, they go there. So it means bhakti is bhakti or devotional service with desires. Okay, plainly put. Nishkama Bhakti. Well, Nish is like it stands for nir. It means without. So it's no kama there. Simply the desireless bhakti. Actually, it's materially desireless. Bhakti without material desires, but it is spiritual desires. So bhakti means devotional service. Okay, just so that is clear. Then we can write it quicker. So it is devoid of wanting to have any result from the material world. The result is only one is doing out of duty, devotion to Krishna, in order to go to Krishna. This Sakama Bhakti is using a God as a means for getting one's desires fulfilled. And Nishkam Bhakti God Himself is the is the goal, and all desires are for getting Him, right? Actually, for pleasing Him, yeah. So that's the great difference. But both of them are counting as bhakti, actually. And Bhakti Yoga is starting with Sakama Bhakti. It actually has to start with that, coming from the level of, if before we were not devotees, coming from the level of being a non-devotee. There's a phrase, is a term that Prabhupada uses a lot, being a non-devotee. So then that means either a karmi or a jnani. Yeah. So karmi means one who is after material enjoyment, and jnani means one who wants liberation. One starts bhakti on the sakama platform. So in other words, bhakti with desires. So nothing wrong with that, it's completely natural. And then gradually one wants to go over to enter nishkama bhakti is a gradual process. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, both of these types of bhakti is they are based on the motive. Yeah, it's called sankalpa. So one motive is that I want to enjoy, but I still believe in God and I want to have connection with God. And the other motive is simply that one wants to please God or Krishna, like that. So you can have, actually, usually the great religious activities, they are sakama bhakti. One wants to get to heaven, enjoy there. As the ultimate, you can say artha and kama, enjoyment. So also to make it, more clear also. So to enter Nishkama Bhakti is a gradual process of transference from Sakama Bhakti. Yeah. Yeah. So if the motive is Chitta Shuddhi, so Chitta Shuddhi, that means or you can say, actually, Nishkama gives Chitta or devotion to Krishna, and is Nishkama. So you can say Chitta Shuddhi will be more for the impersonalists, just to get completely purified in the heart. But of course, that for devotees, that entails. You cannot be completely pure in the heart if you don't have the Lord there. Yeah. Yeah. So if motive is artha, kama, etc., then it is sakama. Okay, so we'll go on. So we'll read text 22. Ananyas chintayantumam ye jana paryupasate tesham nitya vyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. So now Krishna will actually explain the nishkama bhakta, the one who's doing nishkama bhakti yoga. So the first two verses, 20 and 21, they described those who do devotion with desires. In other words, sakama bhakti. So here we go. Ananyas chintayantumam ye jana paryupasate tesham nitya vyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Yes. So here Krishna is describing this devotion with exclusive absorption in Krishna. Ananyas chintayanto. Anya means other. There is no other focus on chinta or consciousness than mam. Krishna says me. Yeah. So Prabhupada says in the purport, one who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the Lord's feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship and surrendering to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. I also wanted to just make a point here. He said without the difficulty. So this is kind of not just kind of, it is the direct method. And that is also creating you can say the best option, which is called, what's it called again? Yeah. So this ninth chapter, it gives the option of sadhya mukti. It's like immediate liberation. Raja Vidya Raja Goyam Pavitra Mutamam, as said in the beginning of the 9th chapter. This is the greatest knowledge. So the 9th chapter is called the Raja Vidya Raja Goya Yoga chapter. Yeah. So this 9th chapter, yeah. Because we got the question, what was the connection of 9th chapter and 8th chapter? So this 9th chapter is giving the easier process than the 8th chapter. You can say 8 chapters focus. So 8 chapters focus. It was mainly krama mukti. Of course, it also has, Krishna is always saying that you should just meditate on me and like this. But still, it was kind of more complicated. It's liberation attained by steps. Yeah. No, stages, steps, step by step. Krama means step. Yeah. As you can hear, vikrama means a misstep. That's sometimes called an offense. If one does an offense, it's called vikrama, misstep. Yeah. But krama means step. So it's good. Steps are good. But, time-wise, it takes longer time. Sadhya mukti means immediate liberation. So that's the focus on the 9th chapter. Yeah. Yeah. So just what was there. In 8th chapter, one has to do worship, procedures, I've explained, and also get the right time of dying, right? Who said when you die at this time, this is more auspicious, things like that. Have to sit in the right asana, or yoga asana. That was also alluded to there, and all that implies that you have to withdraw the whole complicated yoga procedure, the pranas, senses, etc., and to the heart. That's called after pranayama. Then you get pratyahara. You get all the senses inward, and then you force your life air through the Sushumna Nadi, and you're going to escape through the Brahmarandram, the highest point of liberation in the skull, sometimes called the seventh chakra, although in reality there is only 6 chakras. Forcing the one prana, because all the pranas are actually one, but they're divided. That's why we are weak. Our life force is spread around the whole world through all our senses. So then the yogic process is to close down all the loss, all the energy loss of prana, and just make it as one strong force. Push it through the whole chakra system, through the main nadi, which is called the Sushumna Nadi. Out the Brahma Randra. And then after that, where one is ending up, and then going to ending up in Brahmaloka. It may not be over yet, you may not be liberated yet, but it's the last station. Because in Brahmaloka one can get some more training for ultimate liberation of going back to Krishna, because Brahma, he knows everything. He gave us the Brahma Samhita. So in his loka, then the jivas who have ended up there, they can get a great training by Brahmaloka, teachers, and ultimately, for entering Goloka, Vrindavan, like that. Krishna, it's possible, but it's a mechanical process. But the ninth chapter focuses on immediate liberation. It's it's more happy and easy. Susukam kartumavya. That was said also in this Raja Vidya Raja Guyam verse. So in other words, this is higher. So this chapter subject is knowledge about Krishna, Ishvara Jnana, knowledge about the Supreme, and the nature of Krishna. That's called Ishvara Swarupam. Okay, so and it's only available for those who are anasuya. But also Krishna says, who are cleansed of, you can say, enviousness and fault finding. Yeah. Anasuya means free from fault finding or envy. Yeah. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, this is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Yoga Kshema Vahameham. Kshema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. Yeah. So here in the word for word, yoga is stated to be requirements. So whatever we require, we get, and we also protect it. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to miserable conditioned life. So this is, in other words, it's a development of faith also, because we have to believe that the Lord will protect us. In the Sakama Karma Yoga platform, then we are doing bhakti, but still we want to have our material things, because we feel some sense of security in these material things. On the Nishkama Karma Bhakti Yoga practice, then we have our security directly from Krishna himself. Yeah. So Krishna is now giving his opinion about worshipping the other gods. Yepi anya devata bhakta yajyante shradadayan vitaha tipi mam eva kantaya yajyante avidipurvakam. Those are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith. Actually, worship only me, also on the Kunti, but they do so in the wrong way. Yeah. So Prabhupada is saying, persons who are engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent, although such worship is offered to me indirectly, Krishna says. So then you have the example. I think it's gotten from Bhagavatam. When a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. And the demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. Okay, so watering the root of the tree, that equals worshipping Krishna directly. So that's the easiest method and immediate method. Branches and leaves will get the water too. So that is, the demigods will be okay. Yeah, they will not complain. Yeah. So following all this is called the practice of Rita, law and order of the demigods. Yeah. So and that is automatically followed when we worship Krishna. So then we have Amrita. And doing the best we can do in worshipping, in following, actually. The path of Krishna. Yeah. Krishna says that everybody is following his path, but you can follow it indirectly or you can follow it directly. So in other words, when directly following the path of Krishna. Yeah. So the law and order of demigods has to be followed in order to avoid sin. Yeah. And when directly following the path of Krishna, no sin. Yeah, obviously. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officers and directors is illegal. This is stated here as a vidipurvaka. In other words, Krishna does not approve the necessary worship of demigods. So I said that if one actually follows all the rituals for keeping the demigods happy, then one will not get sinful reactions from the demigods. So that's true. There will be no sin, but at the same time, if one goes even further and worships Krishna, then automatically there will be no sin. One will not even worry about that, because the main focus is simply on Krishna himself. Usually people are worshipping demigods in order to get punya, or pious credits, and also to avoid papa, or sin. But with Krishna, it transcends both punya and papa. It transcends piety and sin. Yeah. So that's why Krishna says, Ahami sarva yagyanam bhakta cha prabhareva cha na tumam abhijananti tatvena tascha vantite. I am the only endurer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. So similar to when Krishna, he asked his father Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, why are you worshipping Indra? He asked, please, you can worship my representative, the Govardhan hill. So all the cowherds, they started worshipping Govardhan hill instead of worshipping Indra, and Indra became very angry because he lost his worship. Krishna even was manifesting himself as the Govardhan hill, just to show that actually I am above Indra. I am the Lord. You can worship me or my representative. That will be better than worshipping Indra. And Indra didn't like that. So he poured down rain for a week. Krishna took up the mountain on his little finger and protected the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the rain for a week. And then Indra, he understood that he was defeated. And he came and he bowed down to Krishna, and at the same time he was asking for forgiveness, and he was bringing the Surabhi cow with him from the heavenly planets just to have a ceremony of installing Krishna as the king of Vrindavan, or the king of the cows. So that's the name Govinda he got there, which means something like the master of the cows. Yeah. So you can say Indra had a fall down there because he didn't recognize that Krishna is the one to be worshipped before himself. All of the books are full of prescriptions how to worship Indra. Still, when in the face of the Bhakti scriptures, it's clearly stated that worshipping Vishnu or Krishna is higher than worshipping Indra. So here, for example, as Prabhupada says in the purport, here it is clearly stated that there are many types of yoga performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yaga means Vishnu. In the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that one should only work for satisfying Yaga Vishnu. Yeah, so that verse says that Yagyat, he says, if one doesn't do one's karma for worshipping Yagya or Vishnu, then one is going to experience something called karma bandhana. One will be bound to one's karma. So that is not very nice actually, because karma is actually, on the deep level, karma is superfluous to us. We are a soul, and we don't need karma actually on the soul level. In the material world, we definitely need karma, but we're bound to the same. So it's not a good business for us, because it keeps us in the samsara, or repetition of cause and effect. however, worshipping Krishna or doing service to Krishna is called a non-karmic activity. It's simply in a different land, and it's in a land of transcendence, where karmic actions and reactions does not take place. That's why that is always a recommendation. It's on the absolute plane, the atomic level. The world of karma is taking place on the adibautic level of our life with gross bodies and material elements. So the whole idea with human civilization, as Prabhupada says here, the perfectional form of human civilization known as Varnashram Dharma, is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore Krishna says in this verse, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the supreme master. Less intelligent persons, however, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. That Krishna is going to say here now also. Or did he just say it? Well, he actually just said it. Yeah. They're less intelligent. But those who worship, yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pitri vrataha, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti madhya jinopiyamam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, if one has any desire to go to the moon, the sun, or any other planet, one can attain the desired destination by following specific Vedic principles recommended for that purpose, such as the process technically known as Darshaparnamasa. These are vividly described in the fruitive activities portion of the Vedas, which recommends a specific worship of demigods situated on different heavenly planets. So, mind you, these are very, technical, difficult things. It has to do with these kind of yagyas or fire sacrifices. And for a long time also. And then Prabhupada talks about can attain the Pita planets by performing a specific yagya. So Pita are the place of the forefathers. Similarly, one can go to many ghostly planets and become a yaksha, raksha, or pisarchaka. Pisarcha means something like a demoness or witch. So this pisarcha worship is called black arts or black magic. So this is not recommended. It's activities in the mode of ignorance. But there are many men who practice this black art, and they think that this is spiritualism. But such activities are completely materialistic. Yeah, it's for getting some mystical power or influence. But these rituals are very horrible. They definitely don't make you happy. Actually, said that one actually become more or less possessed by these, one becomes, ghostly hunted, by doing these kinds of things. So it's not really, advised. It's not at all advised. Prabhupada says that the Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society, to the effect that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become perfect in this life and go back home, back to God. So that's, the auspicious alternative to all these other things. And how do you do that? Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tataham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayata atmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So you can make it very complicated, but it is actually not more complicated than this. Simply the bhakti is important here. As you can see in this verse, you have the concept of devotion is mentioned 3 times. And it's said in the scripture, when something is mentioned 3 times, it is to state that it's extremely, vital. It's the most important. So that is patram pushpam palamtam yume bhaktya. So that bhaktya means with bhakti. And then again, tatam bhakti uparitam, offered with bhakti. So bhakti means, loving devotion. Ashnai prayata atmana. So this prayata atmana, it also means to be in the pure consciousness, which of course is also then hinting to be a devotee. So Prabhupada is now appealing to our intelligence. He says, for the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious by this simple method and thus attain the highest perfection of life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge? Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. So here's the point. So, sometimes we hear these Krishna bhaktis, you have so many, difficult things. Actually, you can take it more as you can choose from many ways to do it. But you can also do it extremely simple. Simply chanting Hare Krishna and offering whatever you're going to eat for the day. And connect with Krishna in that way. So no need to stand on the head or, torment oneself with, grueling austerities. Because bhakti is the only thing that actually Krishna accepts. He doesn't accept, the grueling austerities or complex, maneuvers. If they're done with devotion, of course, he accepts our performance. But guess what he takes? He takes only the bhakti part, and the rest he leaves, because the rest is, after all, happening in the material world, right? It has it has an existence in the place where there is time and space, and that is temporary. While the bhakti itself is immaterial, it is actually eternal. So it has the characteristic of it's a svarupa, actually. He said it is actually the spiritual format. That is bhakti. It's coming from Krishna's chit shakti, or his spiritual energy. So it actually has nothing to do with whatever we are experiencing in the material world. Yeah. So let's go on to the next verse. Yat karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhushi dadasi yat tapasya sikantiya tat kurushvamat arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that to Sanukunti as an offering to me. So again, Krishna is making it very simple here. This is the nishkama bhakti without desire. So eating without desire, doing things without desire for ourselves, but doing it with desire to get closer to Krishna. Whatever we offer or give away, some or other, we can tie everything in with Krishna. Whatever austerities we perform. So what is these austerities? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in his commentary to this verse that this means austerity is connected to bhakti, such as, Ekadashi. The Ekadashi, yeah. It's, every second week, 2 times a month, we are fasting from grains and beans. It's not a very difficult austerity, actually. We're not asked to fast from eating, just from eating grains and beans. And we can do that for Krishna. And it will help us in our bhakti process. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, thus it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live, therefore he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious, ritualistic ceremonies, therefore Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called archana. Yeah, so the most simple form of archana is already explained. It is to offer your food to Krishna. This is actually part of archana, to offer, eatables to the Lord. Of course, there has to be a vegetarian, and as clean as possible. We shouldn't taste them before we offer them, and we rather, have some control over the ingredients, so that the ingredients, are pure. Yeah, and it is of course higher level to make it oneself with love than to buy it in the shop. Yeah. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Yeah, so this is also, interesting point. Some or other, we can use, the money we have surplus for bhakti. It can mean, you're buying, the Bhakti Shastri books, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, other books, helping us in Bhakti Yoga. We can use the money for preaching, trying to spread Krishna consciousness by use of material means, which require money. Use money to have proper deity worship in the temple, support the temple. Our local Hare Krishna temple can be supported, so they can continue doing their activities. We join them a few times a week like that. So that is recommended here. And then Prabhupada says that nowadays people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting Hare Krishna mantra around his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so in the end of 6th chapter, then Krishna said actually that Yoganam apisarvasham matkatena antaratmanam Shraddhavan bhajate yomam sameyuktatamo mata. So he said actually, the 6th chapter is talking a lot about the yoga practice, the mechanical one, following Ashtanga. But at the end of that, he says to Arjuna that actually the best yogi is one who is always thinking of me, who is, in other words, a bhakti yogi. So he is fighting such as Arjuna. He even says to Arjuna, Mama nusmara yujyacha. He says, just do your fighting, but just think of me. In other words, he says that you can meditate on Krishna simply by doing karma yoga, working for Krishna while thinking of Krishna, offering the result to Krishna. So the karma phala, or the fruit of the activity, is offered to Krishna. And one meditates on Krishna as the one who gets all the enjoyment of our activities. So that is called, disinterested work. That means we're not interested in the work specifically for our own enjoyment, but for doing our duty for Krishna's pleasure. So in other words, it's for Krishna's sake we do it. And that Krishna had to really tell Arjuna, because Arjuna didn't want to fight. So Krishna called him out for that and asked him to just do the fight anyway, but now just as a duty, not for his own enjoyment, because he wasn't inclined to do it because it wouldn't be enjoyable for him. Arjuna, he didn't enjoy the thought of fighting. But Krishna said, give up the idea of being the enjoyer, just do it for me, for my enjoyment, and just be my servant. So to comply with that, of course, substantiates surrender. So in the end then of the 18th chapter, Krishna bluntly just told Arjuna directly, Sarvadharma parichaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Just give up all your ideas of dharma and just surrender unto me as the only one, mam ekam. Yeah, so in another way, bhakti is also described in Bhagavatam as ekagraya. It's one thing one is focusing on, just focusing on Krishna. Even even at the expense of dharma. But of course, then one has to be ordered by the pure devotee of Krishna, or Krishna himself, as if he were Arjuna. But we're not with Krishna now, so that's why we follow the spiritual master. And in that way we can make progress by surrendering to the spiritual master. Of course, one is allowed to discuss with the spiritual master, how to apply, the process. One may not always, be able to understand or do what the spiritual master says immediately. So then we can discuss with him, just as Arjuna was discussing with Krishna for 700 verses. Well, he only discussed with him a few hundred verses, but the book of Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses. Yeah. So in other words, Krishna or the spiritual master is ready to have a talk with the disciple. It's not that one mindlessly just has to follow what everyone is told. It's not like that. One can get convinced with, deliberating on the subject matter with intelligence, asking questions to clear one's doubts. Because Shraddha is actually the force which drives bhakti home. That's the statement in our books by the acharyas, that Shraddha is the one important thing which makes us devotees. Shraddha means this faith in Krishna. Yeah, so Krishna says, Shubha Shubha Palai Evam Mukshya Se Karma Bandhanai Sanyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimuktumam Upaishyasi. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work in its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. And Prabhupada says one who acts in Krishna consciousness and the superior direction is called yukta. The technical term is yukta vairagya. This is further explained by Rupa Goswami as follows: Anasaktasya vishayan yataram upayunjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandha yuktam vairagyam uchate. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act, we cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called yukta vairagya. So vairagya, it means to be renounced, and yukta means to act actually with things. Yeah. Let's see if I can find some reference to this. Yeah. Yeah, Krishna says another place in the Bhagavad Gita that we must be unattached to the karmas we are doing in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So in the Bhagavad Gita that we must work for Krishna without being attached to these karmas in themselves. So working for Krishna is called karma yoga, yeah, or bhakti yoga. So this thing to be not being attached to these karmas is called teshu karmashu asaktam. Yeah, asakta atma. To have our mind and intelligence, soul, we are unattached to these karmas. But we do them because then we don't have this. Then we will be free from. Then we will be free from false ego. With such detachment. Yeah. Yeah. So Krishna has this verse here, for example, Naiva kinchit karomi iti. That one is doing everything in the world. One is eating, sleeping, picking up things, sensing things, smelling, all these things we do with our senses, but the yogi, he knows, naiva kinchit karomi iti, I'm not doing nothing. Yeah. The bhakti yogi, the bhakti yogi, devotee knows when serving Krishna in karma yoga, or serving Krishna with activities. You say bodily activities, yeah. I am not doing anything. It's my senses who are acting with sense objects. Yeah. Like that. Naiva kinchit karomi. So I am not a doer. Yeah. So free from false ego. Yeah. So that's called So that's called abhimana tyaga. Yeah. Tyaga means renunciation. One doesn't have the false ego. In that way, one can actually one can have the real ego, which is to be servant of Krishna. Yeah. So we cannot renounce the karma. We have to do it doesn't need to be renounced. We have to do karma. cannot and need not be renounced. It is only the ego that I am I'm the doer and an enjoyer of my work. Yeah, that has to be renounced. Yeah, so that's called abhimana here. Yeah, and when one is doing that, then one is free from the results of karma as well. So karma fall. Yeah. Yes. So back to Prabhupada purport. So Prabhupada says here, Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act, we cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called Yukta Vairagya. Actually, situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind. And as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of God. As I said, it's a gradual thing. In the beginning, we will begin with our bhakti with desires, but gradually the desires become less and less. And it goes more and more into nishkama bhakti. That we actually just do the bhakti without desiring anything specifically for our own ego. So therefore, at the end he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. By this liberation he does not become one with the Brahmajyotir, but rather he enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It's clearly mentioned here, Mam Upayishyasi. He comes to me, back home, back to God. Yeah. So there are 5 different stages of liberation. They are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, by the way. And here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to God and engage directly in association of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So that is the actual sannyasi. Yeah. So this renunciation, this gradual of wanting to enjoy the fruits of his work. Yeah. Wanting to enjoy the fruits of work is called Kama Bhakti. This gradual renunciation of that is called Kama Tyaga, you can say in another way. Yeah. Makes him a sannyasi without having to wear, the renouncer's dress. Yeah. That's the thing. So that's what Prabhupada says here. Anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as a service of the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. Yeah, so that's the other thing. Yeah, so I'll just give the reference here, which that he is actually a sannyas. Yeah. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karmapalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasa Chayogacha Nanir Nachakriya. So this is 6.1, where he says, one who gives up the fruits of his activities, who doesn't take shelter in the karma pala. See, I mentioned before karma pala, fruits. He gives up the fruits of his karma. Karyam, his duties, karma karoti, he just does his duties for the sake of doing them as a duty. He is the real sannyasi, he is the real yogi, not the one who doesn't light any fire or doesn't dare to do any kriya or any activities. Yeah. So understand him to be the sannyasi, Krishna says. Not the one who doesn't take any sankalpas, who doesn't do any determined, who's not determined to do anything. So it's like that. So let's go on. Yeah, for ordinary persons it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas, but although pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed Vedic duties, actually it is not so. Yeah, so this is also the thing that how can you explain this? Yeah. So in Sakama Bhakti, so when one has attachments, okay. So that is Sakama Bhakti. One should follow the rules and duties very well. Yeah. Of worship, formalities, etc. Yeah. If not, the process may not, give the result on this neophyte level. May even, if one doesn't perform properly according to all the rules, it may even go backwards. Yeah. But when one is freed of attachments because of love for Krishna, is in Niskama Bhakti, or also called Uttama Bhakti. Yeah. All the rules and the regulations become secondary. You understand? The primary is always to have love for Krishna, but until one has that, if one doesn't have it, then one needs to follow all these rules, because they are going to be the backdrop of entering bhakti. Yeah, they will help, but on the stage of being freed from the attachments, actually, or material attachments. So love for Krishna is called, that's the stage of spiritual attachment to Krishna. So it's another kind of attachment. Param Drishtva Nivartate. With that one has seen something better. One has seen Krishna. One is not attached any longer to what is inferior. And thus one need not. You can say, of course, they still follow. Everybody who is in the material world, they follow all these rules and regulations. But they're actually secondary of importance, because the prime importance is what? Because the attitude yeah, you can say the bhakti, the priti, loving attitude is the most important here. Yep. So you can have an example of, for example, when two people love each other, extremely much. Yeah. What need of formalities are there? Right? That's the idea. Yeah. So it's said, therefore, by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a pure devotee. The exact words are Tanra Vakya Kriya Mudra Vigya Nabujhaya. Yeah. One can understand his activities, one can understand what he says, or his mudra, you can say his bodily expression. Only those who are on the same level or close to the same level can understand that. A person who is thus always engaged in the service of the Lord, or is always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord, is to be considered completely liberated at present. And in the future, his going back home, back to God, is guaranteed. He is above all materialistic criticisms, just as Krishna is above all criticisms. Okay, so text 29. Samoham sarvabhuteshu na medveshyusti na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Yeah, so Prabhupada gives the example here in the purport that it's just like any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. So that Krishna, for his devotees, he gives special attention. Just like, it's just natural. And also here, in the end of the purport, Prabhupada says, the example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be in the law of karma. Yeah. So that's also, according to the enlightenment of the devotee, how far the devotee has reached. He or she will no longer feel that whatever happens to one is due to karma, but he or she will feel that this is actually Krishna himself. Yeah. That Prabhupada says here, it belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world, it is a part of the spiritual world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternally bliss and knowledge predominate. See, it's all about the development of the consciousness where such an exchange can take place. So now Krishna says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananyabhak sadreva samantaviha samyag vyavastu yisaha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Yeah. So, of course, Prabhupada says here immediately that he says in the purport here, sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. He is still devotee, but of course, it doesn't, it doesn't change. If he did, a bad activity, then he's definitely not a very advanced devotee. Prabhupada says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, the Lord being situated within his heart purifies him and excuses him from that abomination. So it is abominable. So one thing is to see with eyes of Shastra, then one can understand that this person is on the path of devotion, can be called a bhakta, but still have some way to go in the anartha nivritti department, to get rid of some bad habits. So in that way they may sometimes be mishaps. And Prabhupada even says here that the material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride the devotee for some accidental fall down from the idle path. For as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course as soon as the devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person who is situated in Krishna consciousness and is engaged with determination in the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be considered to be in the transcendental position, even if by chance or accident he is found to have fallen. The word Sadharava, he is saintly, are very emphatic. They are a warning to the non-devotees that because of an accidental fall down, a devotee should not be derided. He should still be considered saintly even if he has accidentally fallen down. And the word Mantavya is still more emphatic. If one does not follow this rule and derides the devotee for his accidental fall down, then one is disobeying the order of the Supreme Lord. Only qualification of the devotee is to be unflinchingly and exclusively engaged in devotional service. So of course, that's a high qualification. So a good tip is then for any devotee not to get too much into criticizing others, devotees or non-devotees even, because we are more than enough to deal with our own purification. Usually what happens if we get into, especially if one goes on a crusade against another devotee, we will find that we actually ourselves will become contaminated in our minds, and we ourselves will fall down. So it's not advised, in other words. Rather, one should focus on the positive side of devotional service. Although one has to also see what is what. So let's see what Prabhupada says in the end here. So now comes the balance in Prabhupada's purport. He says, on the other hand, one should not misunderstand that the devotee in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. If you remember the 10 offenses against the whole name, then one of the worst offenses is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the whole name of Lord. Because it's stated that the whole name, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, will actually destroy all the sinful reactions. But you can say a foolish devotee, he may think that he can keep on doing offenses and the Maha mantra will purify the reactions. But that is actually one of the great offenses to the whole name itself. So Prabhupada says devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to such fall downs. As previously explained, no one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is understood that he is not a high devotee. Okay, text 31. Kshipram bhavati dharmat ma shashak shantim nigacchati kaunte pratijanehi name bhakta pranashyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. Also Nukunti declared it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Again, Prabhupada is still dealing with this subject matter. He says this should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot be a devotee, cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. Of course, it's an important question. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications, as is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Namam duskritana mudha prapadente naradama. He says, those who never come to me, he calls them duskritanas, or rascals. And Prabhupada says, generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. What are those 9 kinds of devotional activities? They stated in 7th canto of Bhagavatam as being Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Archanam Vandanam Sakyam Atman Nivedanam. It's a hearing, chanting about the Lord, thinking, remembering the Lord, doing service, doing deity worship, bowing down, doing prayers, and becoming a friend and surrendering fully. All these are done for becoming an actual Shuddha Bhakta or purified devotee. Yeah, so Prabhupada says he puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. So those are called prayaschita. But here there is no such condition because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee. Obviously, if Krishna is there in the heart, he is himself saying that he is purifying the heart. He says that in the Bhagavatam. Pravisha chittam vidunoti asheshataha. He says, when I'm seated within the heart, I'm purifying all the inauspicious stuff is going out the door. Yeah. The purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare should be continued without stoppage. This will protect the devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations. And next verse, Mamhi Partavya Pasrita Ye Pisuya Papayonaya Striyo Vaishyas Tata Shudras Tepi Anti Paramgatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they be of low birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras workers, can attain the supreme destination. Purport is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people. In the material conception of life there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, they are not. So in other words, all these are on the same level. As devotees, there is no material distinction. That is clear. Text 33. Kim punar brahmana punya bhaktara jarsayas tata anityam asukam lokam imam prapyabad jasvaman. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engaged in loving service unto me. So here we hear this world is temporary and miserable. It's anityam. Nitya means eternal. Just like you have the word Nityananda, actually is the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother. Nityananda is always happy. And Sukha, that means also to be happy. Asukha then means to be unhappy. Loka, it means the world. Yep. So this is a world of unhappiness and temporariness. So go to Krishna and have happiness there instead. Imam prapya bhajasvamam. Do bhajan to Krishna. Bhajan means devotional service and activity. So Prabhupada says in the purport, in this material world there are classifications of people, but after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, anityam asukam lokam, this world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of God to be temporary and full of miseries. Yeah. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, says that this world is false, but we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false, it is temporary. There's a difference between temporary and false. The world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Yeah. So text 34. Manmana bhava madbhakto mam yaji mam namaskuru mam vaishyasya yuktvaevam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So this is the end verse of chapter 9. And the conclusion is to engage in Uttama Bhakti. The highest level of Bhakti, which is also called Sadhya Bhakti, is very immediate and blissful, instead of going the long-trodden way of Krama Bhakti, which was described mostly in the 8th chapter, and also in the 6th chapter is also described. So this mechanical kind of step-by-step process is also authorized and it's also good, but Krishna is recommending the quicker process, the immediate process of Uttama Bhakti. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, in this verse it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Yeah. So Prabhupada is quoting this verse here, Deha de vibedoyam neshvara vidyate karchit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. So you have Deha, that means the body. Dehi means the owner of the body. Vibeda means difference. Yeah. Na Ishvara Vidyate Kvarchit. So there is, I am with this. There is no, for the Ishvara, for the Lord, there is no difference between the body and the one who has the body. However, for us humans, there is definitely a difference between our body and ourselves. According to Bhagavatam, we are it says Dehi Nityam. He says that we who are owners of the body, we are actually eternal. But Krishna says that the Deha is Anityam. That's stated right there in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavatam. So in other words, there is a difference. But in Krishna, both of them are actually Nityam. Both him and his body is eternal. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, but because the commentators do not know the signs of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the signs of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. So Prabhupada is referring here to a lot of people who made translations of the Bhagavad Gita or other texts about Krishna, not really having the full knowledge about Krishna. And Prabhupada, he likens them actually here to demons. He says there are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate a knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. So then the conclusion is, one should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme. He should engage himself in worship. Yes. So we can go in the end of the purport here. Where Prabhupada says, therefore the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Let's end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the most confidential knowledge. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki